Every single nation on my screen exists in vanilla EU4. The interesting part is that not one single one of them is present in 1444 on the map. This mod releases every single releasable 1444 nation and puts them on the map. Sadly, that means that certain event spawn nations like Kalmyk don't exist, which is a missed opportunity, but we'll take what we can get. China is an absolute Thunderdome. India, still a Thunderdome, though maybe not as much as vanilla. And we're seeing quite a few tags over here in Europe, but only time's gonna tell how things go. There is no nations in the New World that is part of the mod, so colonization should be pretty interesting. It does appear that every nation that has the ability to colonize will get this colonial boon modifier, which is giving them big bonuses to colonization, so they should be able to very quickly fill in the blanks. This isn't using Colonize Please, so it should be a different pace, or at least I assume it will. But I've got a couple of nations that I'm rooting for, mostly Karelia, maybe Finland, Gaeldom. Love to see Scotland forever. Got to give a big shout out to the Welsh. Shout out the Welsh, love you boys. And the Bulgarians, Zaporozhians, lots of cool ones. Isfahan is one of the cooler colors in vanilla EU4, in my opinion, as is Annam or Annam, or however it is pronounced over in Vietnam. And of course, you can't forget about Kabu, the most beautiful color in base EU4. But of course, there's only one way to find out what happens in this mod, and that is to turn it on up to speed 5 and unpause. And yes, as expected, things are going very quickly in the opening years, with nations colonizing provinces right next to them, declaring wars on their neighbors day one, apparently. Bulgaria at war with Montenegro. We've got Champagne over here at war with Alençon, I think. And yeah, so we're definitely seeing some border changes, nations getting eliminated within the first 2 years. There's a lot of land in Asia to be filling in, so any nation that can gain all of that would be very cool to see. Oh, and shout out Buryatia or whatever. They used to be present in 1444, and then they removed them in what DLC was it? It was one of the ones that changed stuff over here. I think it might have been Golden Century, but then they also like overhauled the hordes or something like that. I can't remember. Japan is also filling in pretty quickly with 6 or 7 tangs over here, and with nowhere to go, many of the Chinese warlords are going to be eyeballing each other. Anatolia filling in very quickly, the Balkans filling in with Bulgaria getting ganged up on by Dalmatia by the looks of it. So we'll see how things go with that. And then honestly, just Central Europe and Western Europe in general filling in incredibly quickly with no clear winners though. Shout out Mann. I really like to see Mann colonizing Ireland. That is nice. Sapmi was gobbled up between Karelia and Finland, so we will not see the Sapmi, or at least not right now. Finland, however, is getting lots of land over here in the Baltic, which will help their economy quite a bit. Yep, Transylvanians beating up on Bulgaria, so they just can't catch a break. They've been occupied by a bunch of stuff, though. Shout out Aden Thrace. That's pretty good. Oh yeah, we're seeing some border gore over in Asia, though. There's a lot of border gore. Nations are like getting removed. Like Buryatia doesn't have land that they used to have. Not really sure how that happened. We got Kazakh, Sabir, Shun, and then Xi over here looking to kind of get into Tibet. No nations have really broken in yet, so we'll keep our eyes peeled. Though India definitely is filling in, so this is going to be a pretty interesting spot, I think. We finally have a proposed solution for the question of the state of Israel and Palestine. Just give it all to Lebanon. There you go. And this land over here will all just go to the Cossacks. Make it easy for everyone. Cool seeing Leon pushing over here into Portugal. And outside from a few provinces, basically all of Europe is filled in. Asia is well underway with, like I said, just Tibet and parts of Iran and what is this, Pakistan, I think, over here, slowly filling in. Central Africa will fill in over time as well. We've got one nation over here in the western portions of Australia and a couple of nations down in Indonesia. There's a lot of land and a lot of development down here, so maybe we'll see a couple of nations that will just be left alone to play single player over here, maybe make some power blocks. I'd love to see that. We talk a lot about the Viking invasion of the British Isles, but what about the Northumbrian invasion of Scandinavia? That has definitely got a ring to it. Also, shout out the Normans heading home back over to their old homeland, or at least I believe that the Normans were Viking conquerors. Could be making that up, but I think that's true. And holy Finland, Batman, that is very nice to see. Karelia about to get eaten up by Smolensk. They actually get some pretty solid cannons in the late game, so that might be pretty useful for them. The Japanese still duking it out and even pushing over into Korea, with some pushing over here into Manchuria. So gonna have to keep our eyes on them. And the coasts of Africa are mostly claimed up, with the Guinea coast on the way, and the Swahili coast, I think this is also mostly handled. And we continue to see lots of thunderdoming going on, especially in Europe. Nobody even wants the land in Greece because it's so poor, nobody will colonize it. Finland is dominating Scandinavia and this region over here, Finland, I guess you'd call it, with Yazd seemingly the dominant nation in Iran, sadly not Zoroastrian. Lebanon and Sarjah, whatever, over here splitting up Arabia. Bashkiria in this region over here, with Kazakh making up most of the like Central Asia. And we do see this Kulin nation getting over into the main kind of populated parts of Australia. Meanwhile, Johor and Demak over here colonizing the land, and then this Lanao over here getting into Borneo. So we are going to see some pretty big nations pop up out of here. There's a lot of development to be grabbed. Africa continues with Zimbabwe getting colonized by this Geledi, and Soyo getting basically the entirety of the Congo, with Segu and Tengokodu, I don't know how to pronounce any of this stuff, getting most of sub-Saharan Africa, with Jimma bridging the land over here between Semian and sub-Saharan Africa with yes, Jewish Semian. Very cool. We also have Coptic Armenia. We've got Hussite over here in Moravia, which is very cool. And namely, we've got Norse up here in Finland, which I'm sure will make quite a lot of people very angry because, you know, the Finns weren't Norse, but they are in this timeline. So there you go. I didn't make the mod, so don't direct your hate at me. I have nothing to do with it. But a little over 30 years in, we've got Kazakh, the #1 great power in the world. Kazakhstan, greatest country in the world. All other countries are run by little girls. Second place is Yan Leon in third. Oud over here in fourth, with Shun in fifth. Finland in sixth. Marwar over here in the seventh. And Northumberland, great power from Europe, in the eighth spot. Well, we are certainly seeing the power blocks come out. We've got Northumberland getting kicked out of Scandinavia by Finland. But yeah, Finland, definitely a force to be reckoned with in the north, the lion of the north, if you will, with Northumberland, the primary power over in the British Isles, Leon, the primary power over in Iberia, with Catalonia looking comparable. The rest of Europe is fairly split, though Transylvania and Galicia-Volhynia both looking fine, though Galicia-Volhynia will be dealing with Finland eventually, so yeah, I won't get my hopes up for them. Anatolia is still anyone's game, though shout out Corfu. Nice little Greek borders over there with Albania. Turns out that Albania is actually Corfu, so, you know, take from that what you will. Armenia looking good, with Isfahan and Khiva over here eating up Yazd, who was the big guy over here. India still looks like India and vanilla, just with a couple of different names, so, you know, who knows, man. Though Kazakh is getting a nice big hug from this lime green Bashkiria. Don't think they're going to be the #1 power, at least not for long. And we do have some real deal colonization, with Leonese Brazil popping up over here. And we've got Catalonia over here in Bermuda. So we've got some actual New World colonization underway. Iceland has made their way over into Greenland soon. And Africa, again, mostly filling up with this Swahili nation getting into the south, the Soyo getting up into Guinea even, and over into Lake Victoria. And then Segu and Tengokodu over here, kind of in the same spot they were before. Though, yeah, I do think that we're seeing some nations that are going to end up butting up against each other and causing some conflict. We do also have some Reformation going on, but the Protestant Reformation looking terrible, though Anglican over here in Northumberland is going strong. So far, the New World looking to be Catholic, with a couple of Catalonian provinces in Mexico that I missed, as well as one from Leon over here in Bani, apparently. No, I lied. That's Valencia. So we have 3 nations colonizing the New World. Nice, nice. Make me happy, make me smile. But yeah, a lot can change in 50 years, with Finland almost 1,000 development, jumping up to the #1 spot. Galeti over in Africa, down in the #2 spot, and by quite a bit, with Leon in #3. Bashkiria in #4. Once they embrace institution, they will actually go up to #2, or #3 rather. Catalonia in the #5, though that will continue to rise if they can continue to colonize. Zion in the 6th. Jimna over here in the 7th, and Kazakh in the 8th were #1, though again, once they embrace institution, they're 2 behind. And if they were to embrace institution, they would actually be the #2. So not exactly indicative of where the power that people have, but still pretty cool to see the giant spread between continents. Absolutism is upon us, and we are seeing quite a bit of consolidation. Yan, Shun, Oud, Kazakh, though maybe not for long. Golconda down here in India, and Europe is looking pretty cool. Armenia has pushed down into Arabia. Now Lebanon is basically just the coast where it was before. Northumberland has been kaput, like they're just gone, and Cornwall is the major power, with the Finns in the north, the Finnic invasion of the British Isles. Don't you remember that, lads? Because yeah, they're huge. Finland is literally all of Scandinavia, barring like Schleswig-Holstein, and also all of the Baltic nations over here, maybe except for a little bit of Lithuania, all of Finland, and a large portion of Russia, pushing all the way past the Urals. So Finland is very spooky. Very cool seeing Catalonia pushing into southern France as well as into northern Africa, but not really owning much land outside of Catalonia in Iberia. Obviously they own some land down here, but Leon, I'm sure, is pretty powerful because they basically have colonized all of South America by themselves. Well, they own all of the colonies in South America. They're not doing it much in the north, but Catalonia is getting Mexico as well as some land over in the Caribbeans, according to EU4, and then Icelandic southeast and Cornish Canada. I think we've got one province from Hainaut, or whatever that French nation is, over here, and aside from that, that's basically it. We're almost 200 years in. We barely have much colonization because I think every nation has just been thunderdoming, going against each other, and going to war. We had some pretty interesting stuff, and I almost stopped, but I didn't. We had Reformed that was doing pretty well over here, and namely in France. It was basically like Reformed, Anglican, Reformed, and all of Germany was Catholic, but it does look like that things have kind of normalized, though it is pretty interesting seeing basically a 100% Protestant Italy. That is unrealistic if you know Italians in our timeline. Punjab over here is Sikh, and they are the Sikh man of India with the one single Sikh nation. Very cool. We've got a couple of Hindus and some Shias. So yeah, lots of interesting variety in India. Japan is still not united with this Maeda and Chosokabi, still duking it out, but obviously these guys are the major ones. And NZ has been colonized by this Kulin, and basically all of the islands over here are handled, and we've got Leon over here in Papua. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, we have Catalonia now, the #1 great power of the world. I actually didn't expect that at all, with Leon #2 due to colonization. But of course, once Finland embraces the institution, they will be #1 because they are #1 by quite a bit. Because keep in mind, these guys get a lot of their development from colonial nations. These guys only have 1,000. These guys have 1,576, but these guys have over 2,300 just for themselves. Armenia, the #4 great power. Segu in 5th. 6th is Yan. Kazakh in 7th, still hanging out in the great powers despite, falling from grace. They were #1 a while ago. Messian over here in Deutschland, and everybody has over 1,000 except for Segu and Armenia, and obviously institutions are kind of the big one. Taking a look at the tech map mode, you can see Bashkiria, who was actually enormous, has now been exiled to the lands over here. Very bad on technology. Obviously, East Asia is pretty bad. Central Asia is moderately bad. Europe and over here in the Middle East and North Africa actually going very powerful on the technology front. So that's pretty cool. And developmentally, it actually looks like Zaporozhye might be per capita the highest development in the world, with Catalonia having quite a bit, and Retna over here with Aden having quite a bit of land in Anatolia. We'll have a better look at the dev map mode here when we finish this one up. So Finland got kicked out of the British Isles with Cornwall coming out on top, which is pretty cool. Gaeldom coming back. I don't think that they were on the map for like hundreds of years, but they end roughly where they started, and it looks like they're going to take a little bit more land from Finland, which is it's pretty cool. I'm a fan of that. And speaking of Finland, how about them? They're pretty spooky. They own a lot of land, They're literally bigger than a lot of like vanilla Russias end up in vanilla. So this is very cool. I love this. Japan never formed, with this Chokosobe keeping basically all the land they had before, as well as Taiwan, apparently. And then this Maeda took a bunch of land over here, but not a whole lot of dev, though. Korea and this parts of China, yeah, sure. They probably came out on top, at least in the Japanese islands. Dimak came out on top over here in Indonesia and the Philippines with the Cornish Malaccas. Yeah, it's got a ring to it. Golconda and Punjab over here, the major boys in India, though obviously Golconda is kind of the Bengal of this timeline. And Isfahan looking very good with basically half of Arabia, Qatar, the UAE, these sorts of regions, and then all of Iran and Iraq, Kuwait, all these areas. Very big nation, very cool. It does look like the revolution has came to Africa with Hausa and I'm not going to say this correctly, looking very revolutionary, and South Africa being very green, but also very red, because not only do we have Armenia, we have Great Armenia, and Aden, Egypt, apparently. And Europe is mostly just a couple of powers. There's a couple of nations, but not many that have more than 5 or 6 provinces, with Galicia, Volhynia, a shell of what they once were. Krakow looking really good. Paderborn, shout out Paderborn. They come from this one single province up here. They don't even own the province of Paderborn, so that's pretty funny. Nitra on the map with the revolutionary flag, because of course we got a revolutionary Nitra. And Catalonia, of course. Viva Catalonia. We've got most of Iberia, most of North Africa, the entirety of France, most of Italy, and the entirety of the Low Countries as well. I think they probably won the game if I had to guess. That is assuming that the Leonese colonial stuff is not going to give them the extra edge. I don't think the Icelandic ones are going to do it, and I don't think the Cornish are going to. I'll have to take a look. But before we do that, let's take a look at religion. It does look like the Finns are no longer Norse. Okay, so I think the issue is that they were a pagan religion, and pagans have the ability to convert to like Buddhist faiths whenever they own that land, and they converted to this Vajrayana, I think. Oh my gosh, that's I didn't have that on my bingo card, but I'm really glad it happened. I'm very, very glad it happened. So how about the Coptics, the Shia, the Sikhs? We've got a huge variety in this region. I think that is so cool. Still lots of Norse over in the New World, with funnily enough, Iceland being owned by Finland, and now Iceland is Greenland. So yeah, there you go. But Reformed is essentially just over here, and maybe some of their colonial stuff, but very few provinces are actually Reformed. And Protestantism is literally just Messian. That's it. That's literally it. Looks like French culture's expanded a bit, mostly over here into Italy. I think Walloon grew quite a bit as well. Those Catalonians converting most of Iberia to Catalan, and then kind of spreading their various accepted cultures. We got Normans over here in Jutland, which is just like chef's kiss. Polish getting gobbled up by Ruthenian. Lots of Ruthenian cultures. Greeks definitely getting pushed out by the Turks and the Bulgars. So I definitely think some Turkish culture has been planted in other places. Interestingly enough, nowhere in Germany this time around. And holy smokes, this Chinese culture border gore. Big fan. I like that a lot. Lots of Somalis over here. South America, as well as North America, is for the most part Iberian, with Platinian, a little bit of Leonese. We've got Catalan, Mexican, and Leonese. Northern America is Icelandic and Cornish in a lot of portions, which is also pretty cool. And then the one Lao province over here in Alaska, as well as one Nuyuga and one Teluga province. So that's pretty good as well. Anatolia was kind of the dev center of the world before, but now it does definitely look like it's mostly Germany. Of course, lots of coal in this area, so the AI will dev this up. Zaporozhye is still very high developed. A couple of provinces over here in Gaeldom and Cornwall looking really good. And the Americas have quite a good split. Looks like Colombia actually has a lot, as well as down in Brazil. And La Plata has a pretty good spread as well. Honestly, there doesn't seem to be any areas that are like super bad. China is actually kind of garbage, which is weird. Normally it's not at all that bad. And southern Gujarati India looks a little bad, but Punjab looking really good. Good enough for Catalonia to be the #1 great power like I expected. And Great Armenia, #2. Finland in the #3 spot. Yes, lots of land, but very big provinces, so not really a big surprise. Golconda over in India in the 4th, Iceland and their colonies in the 5th, though remember, they own most of their land because Greenland is in the New World, so they don't form colonial nations, so their land is all directly owned by them. Then Leonese Colombia, who is independent, is the #6 great power. Isfahan is the #7, and Maeda over in Japan is the 8th slot, with a naval hegemon fully stacked up for Catalonia. A very cool spread, and I'm a big fan. Man, brings me back to like the Colonize Please days. And if you'd like to see a Colonize Please video, if you got a suggestion, leave it in the comments below. If you made it all the way to the end, I appreciate your time. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you like it and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one.